What's up, guys? It's Benny. This is how things go from bad to worse, and it just went thermonuclear with President Trump taking a side in the epic battle royale between Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi. Dan Bongino, the FBI deputy director, throwing down the gauntlet, saying, "I will not remain at the FBI if Pam Bondi remains as the attorney general over the botched handling of the Epstein files," stating effectively that they don't exist and there was never any blackmail, and effectively lying to the base, right? Like breaking a promise. And this has been very, very unpopular with everybody who's been watching. And the MAGA base wants transparency here, and we don't want to protect predators. And Dan Bongino is saying, if you're going to just try and brush all this under the rug, then I'm not going to have anything to do with it. I'm out. And there was a lot of rumors that Kash Patel would be joining him. Now, of course, this has made its way all the way up to President Trump's desk, and President Trump just weighed in. Before we get there, I want to mention this post by Kash Patel, sent at 2:30 p.m. today. "The conspiracy theories about me are not true. It's an honor to serve the President of the United States. I'm going to continue to serve for as long as he calls on me." Now, it took Kash a while to post that, so you have to assume that things were really rocky last night. And there's been a lot of pressure on President Trump to fire Pam Bondi and to release the Epstein files. Many people are saying she is the reason why they're not being released. Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump just dropped this thermonuclear bomb on the entire situation. Let's go. Here we go. On Truth Social. "What's going on with my boys, and in some cases gals? They are all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We are on one team, MAGA. And I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world. Selfish people are trying to hurt it. All over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, Epstein, over and over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and losers and criminals in the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intel agents, and laptop from hell? They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used against me. And now the so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? They haven't even given up on the JFK Martin Luther King files, no matter how many such cases we have had, securing the border, deporting criminals, fixing the economy, energy dominance, a safer world where Iran will have a nuclear weapon, will have no nuclear weapon. It's never enough for some people. We are about to achieve more in 6 months than any administration has ever achieved in 100 years, and we have so much more to do. We are saving our country and making America great again, which we will continue to do, and will be our complete priority. The left is imploding. Kash Patel and the FBI must be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, rigged and stolen election of 2020, and arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending months and months looking at nothing but the same old radical left-inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job. She's great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they tried to do the same in 2024. And that is what she's looking into as the AG, and much more. 1 year ago, our country was dead, and now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Okay. So President Trump has acknowledged that the Epstein files exist here. President Trump has acknowledged that the files were written and that there is something there. He says that they were written, however, by his enemies and therefore will not be released. Whoa, what? That's new in this entire zeitgeist. This is something that is wildly interesting. And then he goes all in on supporting Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. No mention of Dan Bongino, where all of this, again, sort of transpired. This all broke yesterday because of Dan Bongino. This is really interesting. And he seems to be going directly at some of the people, like last night, for instance, just off the top of the head, Glenn Beck, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, myself, Charlie Kirk at Turning Point Student Action Summit here in Tampa, going hard in on this issue. Steve Bannon as well, Laura Loomer calling for Pam Bondi's resignation, an entire cavalry effectively saying, well, this isn't good. Cool. Say goodbye to the midterms. These are some of the snap reactions here. This is not disrespectful, or it is not disrespectful or disloyal to bring this major problem to real Donald Trump's attention. Everybody should get on Truth Social and let him know how you feel, says Rahim. President Trump comes out publicly defending Pam Bondi and appears to be wanting MAGA to drop the Epstein files issue while admitting that the Epstein files are real. President Trump goes into full meltdown mode to defend Pam Bondi and shut down the Epstein talk, calls the files fake, says nobody cares, and warns MAGA to fall in line. Pam Bondi doing a fantastic job, says it's an Obama-Hillary distraction. Well, then release them if they're fake. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if they're fake, just release them. Just in, President Trump attempts to shut down Epstein criticism, saying, let's keep it that way and not waste time on energy on Jeffrey Epstein nobody cares about. He also goes on to say Pam Bondi is doing a fantastic job. I can tell you this. I gave a speech last night, and a lot of people cared about the Epstein files. Everyone. I was, I guess it's not scientific, but I'm sitting here in a room with 7,000 people, primarily young people. They're as hardcore MAGA as you can get, and they're all cheering for the release of the files. They're cheering for Dan Bongino, and they're demanding accountability here and transparency. This is President Trump's guidance on the current controversy. I believe he has much better info on the situation than I do, and so I will defer to his judgment, says some. Trump says the Epstein files are just created by Obama and Hillary. Again, I'm telling you, man, by admitting that the Epstein files are real and have been written, and that you've read them and you don't like their contents and they were written by your enemies, doesn't make the most compelling case as far as I'm concerned. Holy moly. Okay. So this is what's going to melt down the internet right now. There was and a lot of people are saying this is Susie Wiles, right? So Susie Wiles is the individual who's the chief of staff of the White House. So people are now sort of peeling that layer back now. Let's not waste any time or energy on somebody that nobody cares about. I'm sorry, but people really, really care about him. As a matter of fact, this audience really, really cares about Jeffrey Epstein, and knowing that we're not paying tax dollars to protect predators, right? Or to a predator cult. That matters. Nobody's put it more succinctly than Tucker Carlson last night, when Tucker Carlson decided to just rip the freaking bark off this issue and just go all in and give a message to people trying to tell us, shut up, stop asking questions about this. Seemed directly related to President Trump at the White House earlier this week, saying stop asking questions about Jeffrey Epstein. So I guess I'll let this reaction from Tucker, one of President Trump's closest friends and allies, sum it all up. The counter argument here. Let's go.
The fact that the U.S. government, the one that I voted for, refused to take my question seriously and instead said, case closed, shut up, conspiracy theorist, was too much for me. And I don't think the rest of us should be satisfied with that. And by the way, let me just say really quickly, because I was so mad about it that I think I found out part of what's going on. I think we are going to find out more. And I think the truth, for whatever it's worth, in case you're interested, is that the DOJ didn't release lots of incriminating sex videos with Epstein and his billionaire pals because they don't have them. They don't have them because when the original search warrant was served 2007, I think, possibly 2006, I think 7, it was basically designed to protect Epstein. The search warrant was written in such a way to make sure that the feds never got their hands on the actually incriminating evidence. It's another way of saying the cover-up has been going on since 2007, almost 20 years. And so the real question is not, was Jeffrey Epstein a weirdo who was abusing girls? Yes, we can answer that. The real question is, why was he doing this, on whose behalf, and where did the money come from? And those are the questions that need to be answered. And I think it's entirely fair to ask them. And it's not adequate to say anyone who asked them is somehow desecrating the memory of little girls who died in Texas. I'm not going to put up with that answer. I don't care who gives that answer. That is not acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan? Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA. That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting U.S. president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person.